NBA DFS show with Jon Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, FA Nation? Jon Impemba with James Grande. Welcome to the Fantasy Farm NBA DFS Playbook Preview Show. We got 9 games here on a Wednesday, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, ending at 9 p.m. Here, no 10 p.m. games on the main slate this time around. I'll be on the playbook for everybody for this 9-game slate. James, my buddy, how we doing?
Doing well. Interesting 9-game slate. Wemby goes to Boston against a Boston team that may not be without anyone but the Jays. We have Orlando traveling to Atlanta in the middle of turmoil there. We have Detroit hosting home game against one of the best teams in the league. Milwaukee, Cleveland, pretty good matchup. Charlotte, New Orleans is interesting because LaMelo Ball plays basketball. We might have the return of Luka. Utah gets to play another home game. Like there's a lot of fun going on this Wednesday slate. I'm looking forward to
it. Yeah, game total wise, Golden State, Utah, 242.5 there. They're given 4 against at home against Golden State. 236.5 Cleveland, Milwaukee, 237.5 Boston, San Antonio. Our top game totals on the board, 232.5 as well. Orlando, which is obviously a high game total for an Orlando team, rather. They've been playing some lower total games here of late. Detroit's getting 11.5 at home against Minnesota for the point spreads there. Knicks, Houston playing at 219 total. Knicks are giving 5 at home. Charlotte, New Orleans. New Orleans is a 12-point home favorite, so some big spreads there, some nice totals. And as you mentioned, the big story from this evening, Shams bomb dropping that Toronto and Indiana engaging in trade talks for Pascal Siakam. Will he be dealt before this game? Will he play? Right. With him potentially being in trade talks? All that has to be considered as the NBA trade deadline is a mere few weeks away. The reported deal is Indiana sending Bruce Brown, another player for contract, and 3 first-round picks to Toronto for Pascal Siakam. So we will see whether or not that deal gets done tomorrow. But obviously, it would be big news if Toronto continues to make moves. It would impact a lot if Siakam wasn't available.
Yeah, it would impact a lot. And if this is your first time, welcome to NBA trade deadline season, because a lot of players, I would say more than other leagues, the NBA makes trades a lot. There's a lot of trades in the NBA. MLB and NBA are probably the 2 most common. Like you don't see like NFL trades all too often.
Mm-hmm.
And also anytime you do see one, it just doesn't look like there's nearly enough value return on like anything you get. So it should be a fun deadline. Already getting spicy enough. So we'll see if Siakam is in fact a Raptor by this time tomorrow. And even if he is, if he's playing, because what do we need? Do we need to see more sample size of Pascal Siakam, the player? I don't
right.
think so.
No, I agree with you 100% there. Let's just get into the slate. Again, 9 games to talk about. We'll go position by position as we usually do here. Luka Doncic, $10,900. We'll see if he's able to suit up or not. Listed as questionable here against this matchup against the Lakers. Trae Young at 98, Donnie Mitch at 96, and a great spot for guards here against Milwaukee. Kyrie Irving would get the Lakers. If no, Luke could be pretty appealing at $9,300. You mentioned LaMelo Ball and what he can do now that he's healthy, just $9,100 for him. If we're looking at the 9K and above tier, how are you breaking them down for us, James?
Usually we're used to soft, small slate pricing, John.
Right.
That is what's happening here on a 9-game slate. Giannis at $11K is the most expensive name on the slate. Luka at 10.9 if he plays. Like I understand Kyrie's there and whatnot, but we haven't seen Luka under 11K all year. This is the first time he's been under $11,000 the entire season. So if Luka plays, he'll be full capacity. It's only been 3 games missing. If he doesn't, obviously we're getting to Kyrie Irving. But again, Kyrie Irving was 10-3 the other day and went for 60. So he still paid it off. Kyrie over the last 7 games, John, 53, 51, 64, 58, 70, 52, 63. 3 of which have been without Luka, 4 have been with Luka. He's gone for 50 plus, and he's played 40 minutes in 4 straight games. And Kyrie Irving's price has gone down $1,000. That doesn't make any sense at all. So
Yeah.
Kyrie for me would be like top dog. Obviously, Mitchell in a great spot too against Milwaukee. He has a team to himself.
Yeah. And we know what he can do in that spot.
And we know what he could do. I would just have a hard time on the stretch that Kyrie's in, like playing Mitchell over Kyrie for more money.
Sure. Yeah, Mitchell went for 61 fantasy points against Milwaukee earlier this year. So
I might find a way to play
them both. I mean, we haven't, again, we say this all the time. This preview show is generally a first look for James and I as well. We want to give you our live initial reactions and thoughts on the slate. So we'll come across, we don't know what the value is going to look like if the top end guys are kind of priced like this. So, I mean, again, Anthony Edwards is only $8,300 here. I mean, I get it. He's questionable to play. It is Detroit. $8,300 though. Like it's
weird.
That's a little odd. You could have Scotty Barnes by himself, Curry at 85, Lillard 86, McCollum at $7,900. Like these are some pretty good prices. Is DraftKings focusing on the NFL playoffs these last couple of days? Is that what happened here?
This is ludicrous. You know
what I think it could be too is if they've had a large contest available. This one, I think it was for a little bit, like a marquee contest. Before the slate this is the only contest that was like open to reserve entries for a little bit here. I wonder if they made the pricing softer to entice the large entries here.
Yeah, that's a fair point. It's a good point, John, because like I know we've like largely stayed away from Steph at like 8,500 coming off 51.48, and he's now $500. Again, it's just like the pricing is getting like very soft everywhere. I'd have a ton of interest in Curry at 85 against Utah. I know Utah's been a good defensive team or better defensive team, but that game is fun. 242 total. He's playing alongside Draymond again. Like we know how well those two mesh. Whatever you want to think about Draymond.
Paul to Draymond is a huge boost.
Yep. So 8,500 for Curry is a really good price. The Edwards price is absolutely stupid. That is horrible misprice.
55 fantasy points last game.
Horrible misprice here. Now, there's the obvious question if Detroit can keep this game competitive.
15-point game total.
Do we know what's the Bojan status here? Bojan, I think he's probable. Yeah, he is. So obviously, like having Bojan helps. Having Jalen Duren and Jaden Ivey in their form helps because those two have been awesome lately. But I don't know. And Edwards 83. If that game stays at all competitive, dude, that does not make sense at all. That was my best chance at a robot. There had to be a.
There's no more Bane, so you had to go to a robot.
There had to be some type of robotic error here. Sure. Really, it's because
algo problem here for. And we're only at point guard, folks, and we're halfway through it, so I'm sure we'll find some more issues as we move our way down here. Again, I like the McCollum price at 79. It is a double-digit point spread in that game as well here. What's your next spot? I mean, you've been riding the Collin Sexton train, $6,500 for him, coming off 42 fantasy points, 39, 34, 35 the last 4. Only $100 boost. Now gets Golden State here. Once again, Utah at home, riding some strong performances.
Dude, I said it the other day, and it was tough sledding on Tuesday slate. Monday slate? Monday slate. The value was terrible, right? The value is terrible. Not a lot of it hit. Dennis Smith Jr. hit, but you and I got on these airwaves, and like neither one of us were like too keen on Dennis Smith Jr. Not that we know he can't, but the difference for me, I think, and it's something that we talked about for a pretty extensive time, was the Sexton versus Clarkson ownership and how everyone gravitated to Jordan Clarkson, and Jordan Clarkson's been great. But you even talked about, you're like, well, the price is going up on Jordan Clarkson, and the price really hasn't moved on Collin
Right.
Sexton. And I could not agree more. And when you're talking about like Sexton's price again, and there was also 3x the ownership for Jordan Clarkson. And
Mm-hmm.
like, if that's going to be another situation where Sexton's less priced, lesser owned, starting where Jordan Clarkson isn't, and he's multi-position eligible
Yeah.
compared to Jordan Clarkson shooting guard only, then I'm just gonna play Collin Sexton and keep doing the same thing.
Yeah. And you hope it's a bit more of a competitive game. I mean, he had
Right.
30 actual in 24 minutes in that Pacers game.
Yeah.
Could have been a monster performance for Collin Sexton there. You mentioned both Boston guards are out. You were in on Peyton Pritchard, or not out. Sorry, they're questionable. White and Drew Holiday. Peyton Pritchard all the way down to 4K now, by the way. So
Yeah.
after being priced up, and he kind of let people down, got the minutes, didn't hit the shots. I mean, we talked about some value. Keontae George is 46 down here. You talked about Pritchard, Lowry. All these guys are pretty cheap, for some value on this slate. If Brunson's out, McBride's 53. He had a pretty good game the other day filling in for him. Where are you when it comes to value at the point guard position?
It's hilarious that Miles McBride is 5,300 and everyone else is like priced up. Not that he doesn't deserve it,
I
but
was gonna say
like,
last 2 games he's been balling out.
no, it's not like, this isn't like shot at Miles McBride. This is just shot at like, that's the stand we're taking on DraftKings. Like, we're not pricing Kyrie Irving up with the potential that Luka's out. We're
Not
pricing
moving Collin
Miles.
Sexton.
We're pricing Miles McBride up. Like, that's my point. Like, more so than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, McBride's been good, and we know Houston's really bad at home, so that's something.
Or on the road, rather. Houston's really bad.
Yeah, on the road. Sorry. Marco Fultz minutes going up. I do think it's interesting, the Keontae George price going down $300 after back-to-back 29 and 30 fantasy point games. Even though I talked to you, he scored 11 actual points in the final minute of that game.
Mm-hmm.
That like the chalk monsters just got like all of, right? Like,
Yeah,
hit
it all
3
counts.
threes. Yeah, I mean, it all counts. You're right. It all counts. But like, I would 100% be interested in the same two, George and Pritchard. I mean, like, Peyton Pritchard 4K, if either White or Holiday sit, is a really elite play.
Even if they play.
Even if they play, it's
I'm just saying, like, look what his minutes have been lately as their guard off the bench.
True.
Now you only need 20 fantasy points for 5x, something that he's giving you at 5K and 47, right? Like, obviously you want them out, but it is San Antonio and they're 15-point favorites. They blow out San Antonio. Peyton Pritchard gets all that late run too. So It would not shock me if tomorrow's ownership run has Peyton Pritchard in 25% or something like that.
I would say you're more likely, like, first run to see something like Keontae George being popular, because when you're like, the large field tournaments aren't going to factor in like Boston, because like they have like mostly played. Like, Derek White only missed games because he had a child, and Drew Holiday has had this elbow sprain that he's like largely played through every night.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like you're not going to see Peyton Pritchard, but maybe you do, because maybe it is people just factoring in a blowout.
And I think it's the blowout and just the price tag.
Yeah,
like 4K is pretty good. Shooting guard, again, the guys we've discussed already. You have Brandon Ingram, though, at 82. You have Jaylen Brown at 8K. You mentioned it could just be the Jays. Jaylen Brown has been on something lately. Against Houston, he had 32 actual. Minnesota, 35 actual. 40 actual against the Pacers, followed by 31 before that. The 10-point game was the game where the Celtics just sat all their starters in the second half. So, he's on a run of playing full-time minutes of 31, 40, 35, 32. If it's just those two against San Antonio, you probably chalk him in for another 30-plus actual point game here.
Yep, for sure. He's been on one for quite a while now, and it's good to see. I would say there's a chance San Antonio could keep it close because Porzingis is questionable too. So like, if Zinger and the two guards were to sit, I could see them like being somewhat competitive. Now, if Brown and Tatum just do Brown and Tatum things, then maybe it doesn't matter if anyone else is there. But
yeah, Boston not on the front leg of a back-to-back too. I checked the Thursday slate; they're not playing, so good chance that these guys just play. We'll see. Obviously, and that will certainly impact that. Middleton 76, Rozier's a shooting guard only now at 75. Clarkson at 69, as we talked about. You have the Toronto guys. I guess if Siakam is out, it's not a great spot against like 219 total here, but Quickly and Barrett, if there's no Pascal Siakam, would certainly get some sort of appeal here.
Yeah, I mean, they've been super good, especially RJ Barrett consistently has been really good outside of that Utah blowout loss, which is happening to everyone these days. So don't feel bad, Toronto. I mean, dude, this version of RJ Barrett is not something we saw very consistently in New York. Like, he was good at times, and he was good even before the migraine this year, but this was not RJ Barrett.
Yeah, hard to rebound with Julius Randle and Hartenstein, Robinson. We're getting all the boards, right? And now RJ Barrett's being active on the glass. So
yeah, much easier to rebound with Jonte Porter and Thaddeus Young.
Much easier to do so. Where else are we looking in this tier?
If there's no Luka, Tim Hardaway is on a different planet right now. Just making shots and scoring the basketball. 41, 24, 32. He's been starting every night. So that would be a definite direction I would go. 6,400 is a really good price. Interested a little bit in like Clay, Pajemski range, but Pajemski, Draymond comes back, Steph's back, 27 minutes. It's not great to see the minutes down. Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks comes back-to-back blowouts, and minutes are 1,500 is a crazy price for Jalen Green.
It's not a great matchup in New York, but
it's not. And I'm just saying, it's more so like a price thing for me. That's crazy to see. Like, that's a crazy price tag to see Jalen Green at.
Alec Burks went for 34 actual the other day.
He sure did. I was a beneficiary of this game. I stacked the Pistons big time in that without Bojan.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say that Bojan's or that you're not gonna get Alec Burks playing potentially 30 minutes again. I definitely think Bojan being active hurts Alec Burks a little bit. Just
got 7 straight games of over 20 fantasy points.
But he's just a very good scorer. He's just such a good basketball
scorer. He should be traded in a couple weeks. Some team
he should be a commodity for sure. As a bench scorer, he'd be a perfect fit for somebody.
Why can't he be Norm Powell? Right?
He can definitely be Norm Powell.
Why can't he fill that role for a team? The way Norm Powell fills it for the Clippers. So
sure.
Where else are we going? As we look under 5K, anybody in particular stand out to you? Karis LeVert's questionable. Merrill's at 46. You got Cody Martin at 47. Houston 45. Maybe Gary Trent if he was active at 43. If Siakam was a sit, what's your thoughts here?
Sub 5K. Well, at 51, Malik Beasley is starting to play again. It will be interesting to see. The Bucks are getting Jay Crowder back in this game, so we'll see what the minute distribution to Crowder is compared to everyone else. Because you could technically play Middleton at the 2, right, and Crowder if that's a lineup that they wanted to explore. Merrill would be interesting, especially if LeVert is out. I don't know what the minutes would be because he's still coming off the bench, but Karis obviously plays. You know who it could boost? It could boost Craig Porter Jr. Because Karis LeVert operates kind of as the backup point guard. Porter's I don't think it would necessarily put Porter in play, but we know Craig Porter is was really good on a fantasy point per minute scale.
Yeah.
I don't know how impactful it would be for Merrill because they're playing LeVert on the ball so much. In the few minutes that Donnie Mitch is not on the floor, but obviously Merrill benefits somewhat. He's not going to play 20 minutes. He'll play if it's 24, 26, something in that. That's still viable. I don't know if there's...
Give Dylan Brooks a look. 30 fantasy points in the last game out against Philly.
It's a good price. It's a good price. He's going to guard... If Brunson plays Brunson, that's instant foul trouble. So I'd like no Brunson to get to
Sure.
Dylan Brooks.
Okay. Over at small forward here, again, we have LeBron and Tatum as your top 2 price guys, dual positional eligibility. Tatum would, if those guys get ruled out, would be super popular, I think, against San Antonio here. Again, coming off of a 51 fantasy point game where we only had 19 actual points in that one. Just filled it out the stat sheet. Dude, Lauri Markkinen's $100 cheaper than he was the other day.
I'm telling you, there's just something wrong here because there's just no
He was the cover of our show the other day and he balled out, so it made us look good.
There's just no way he's this price in any capacity at this point. You can't reasonably have Lauri Markkinen under 9K.
Yeah.
And like feel good about his pricing. Right? You're like looking it over, you're doing like a little audit, you're like, 80, 83, guys. What do you think? Good. I don't think doesn't matter. Good. Like it doesn't make sense.
Speaking of things that don't make sense, Jimmy Butler returned after missing like 3 weeks, immediately plays 40 minutes and gives you 46 fantasy points, 31 actual. He is not a $7,800 player. If he's playing 40 minutes, he's like a 9K player. I don't know what to do with this. I have no idea what to do with this.
I mean, isn't this like, so
Jaquez is out.
Maybe he just hasn't been hurt. And you've said this all the time. You say this all the time. Like Jimmy just activates like later. It's 2024, right? So now Jimmy needs to get in he's starting to get in that mode. He's like, all right, we're trending towards the playoffs.
Did you say he's working on an album?
Country album. Yeah. Country album. Yeah.
So he's just been in the lab, mixing beats.
Is he hurt? Is there an actual injury?
No, I say this all the time. Jimmy Butler only cares about the playoffs. He'll show. This is why I said last year I was terrified of facing the Miami Heat, and they go through and they beat the Bucks and the Celtics. That team is coached well. They have crazy depth, and Jimmy Butler is that dude when he wants to be that dude. And he showed it right there. The man misses games all the time. He's not in it for any awards at this point. But he just goes on there after hadn't played in the new year yet and plays 40 minutes off the rip and gives you 31 actual and 46.
See, it's like that is so funny because he does that in a game in Brooklyn. So in New York, under the lights, what does he do in Toronto?
And 187 game total too, by the way. Neither team scored 100 points in that game.
What does he because we've seen that Jimmy, and then we've seen Jimmy that just I'm gonna defer to everyone else tonight, Jimmy. Which that's the hardest part about playing Jimmy Butler, because you're right, not $7,800 player, but every third game we get don't care, gonna defer tonight to Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo, Jimmy, and then he kills you.
The thing is, even in his sort of okay games this year, he was still kind of giving mid 30s, which isn't killing you. When he was 9,500, it was, but now he's 78.
I know. So
if you get 5x out of him tonight, it's 38, which is still not great, but it's doable. It's possible. And more people are probably going to play Jaylen Brown, than Jimmy Butler. So in tournaments, maybe in cash games, Jimmy Butler at $7,800.
Yeah.
And then of course you mentioned RJ already. Bojan's here at 66 for tournaments. I don't know what to do with the San Antonio guys. We'll get to Wemby, but Vassell, Keldon, I don't know what to do with them on this spot here against Boston. They're all a bit too tough. Sadiq Bey, $5,800. I don't mind that.
Small forward eligible.
Yep. Still giving him the minutes. Looks fine to me. Murphy's here at 56. I know he's on his, little minutes limit, 28, 22 the last couple of games, but we know he can score. Duncan Robinson's $5,400, but probably hard to get there when Butler's back. Wiggins is 49. I don't know. This low tier small forward after Bay doesn't look all that appealing to me.
Yeah, I don't necessarily like it all that much. Interesting to see Rui Hachimura with small forward eligibility. They really are focusing on football right now. That's pretty obvious. Josh Green is fine as like a last piece in, $4,600 against the Lakers if there's no Luka. Whitmore got blowout run, back-to-back games of just total just scoring. He has to be in the rotation. He will be in the rotation. It's just how much do you trust him? Sor Thompson got 27 minutes off the bench the other day. That was another piece of my Pistons stack that I played that I like, but with Boyan back, I don't know if you can get to a Sor Thompson. Um, there was conflicting reports about Chuma Okeke starting last game. They had listed Anthony Black starting, then Chuma Okeke was the one starting. I guess if Chuma Okeke were to start again, he'd be okay. 25 minutes, 23 fantasy points at 4,200. I don't love much of anything down here though. Like Joe Ingles is playing 20 minutes a night for Orlando as well.
Yeah.
Like he has a really like low floor. He also has like a decent ceiling, but I don't think we need to touch much like under.
Osor got 27 minutes here.
Yeah, but when I was just talking about it, it's like
Yeah.
that was no Bojan, and I just don't
They
think
did trade Bagley and all them. I mean, like
they did trade Bagley.
Livers and Bagley traded.
I just so like the starting five is going to be Hayes, Ivy, Bojan, Stewart, Duran.
Sure.
And then they played Stewart 38 minutes, and they played Jalen Duran only 26, mostly because Washington took the center off the floor. But I just don't see like where like those 27 minutes for Sor Thompson.
I know you mentioned it, but obviously you have to be encouraging that Brooks comes back and Whitmore plays 23 minutes. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely blowout run aided, but like good to see him in the rotation. Regardless, like he's in the rotation.
He has the Tari Eason role at the moment.
Yes, he does. Yep.
Power forward, Giannis is 11K. Anthony Davis is at 10K. Your top two price guys here, both power forward center eligible. If looking to spend up, certainly have no problem getting to either one of those two players. You know what they're capable of doing. It's really the guys below them that I think are kind of interesting. You have Randall at 89. Banchero at 88 against Atlanta is a very appealing. And then Victor Wembanyama,
27 minutes.
At halftime of the game against Atlanta, look at his stats. He finished with 26, 13, 2, 5, and 2. At halftime, he had 0 points, 3 rebounds. Was it 2 blocks and a steal? I think
he had 2 and 2.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that.
0 points and 3 rebounds at halftime. He finishes with 26 and 13.
And he didn't start the second half, by the way. They were down 30. Down 30, didn't start the second half.
Didn't start the second half. He's played against Boston already once this year. Played the 24 minutes, 21, 7, and 3 in that game for 36 fantasy points. I'm not going to play Wembanyama here, but obviously the man is special.
If there's no Zinger, no White, no Jaylen Brown, or Derek White, no Holiday. Do you
think Horford just can't deal?
I don't know. I mean, he had 9 dunks in that game.
Yeah,
he had 9 dunks.
True.
I'm not saying Al Horford hasn't defended like the best player in the NBA.
I mean, for the last decades, he's had to deal with Giannis and Embiid and all those guys. So.
I'm just saying Victor Wembanyama can also just be like, sorry, Al, let me just reach over here and place
it's
it in the basket.
It's like in Space Jam when Jordan's arm stretches.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's legit. Like, that's a legit comparison?
Anyways, I really like Banchero.
Same.
That's a great matchup for him. Great spot. Okay. Towns is $7,700.
Minnesota
also a bit of a bonkers price tag. I get it. 15-point favorites here. I think it was. We saw something like that. But
Minnesota is it is 11.5.
11.5. Okay, 11.5. Still,
Minnesota is just severely underpriced. Gobert 71. I just looked. I just wanted to check. It's
interesting. It's interesting. Zion at 76. Also kind of interesting.
Yep. Great matchup.
Your boy Jalen Johnson here, still doing the damn thing. 16, 10, 7 last time with 6 steals.
Dude, he is so good. He is so good. I have nothing else to say. He's just so good. I don't know if like this is like the best spot for it,
Yeah.
I'm just pointing out that he is so good.
Sure. Let's see. Jabari 6K, John Collins $5,800 here. Only played 20 minutes, but that was a blowout. Had 18 fantasy points still. Draymond at 57 played 24 minutes in his return, had 23 fantasy points. Not bad there. Kuminga 55. Where are we going to power forward?
I'd be interested in Horford if Porzingis sat. 5,500 is the lowest Horford's been priced for quite a while. So if Zinger sits, Al Horford played 35 minutes the other day. Like, if Al Horford can play 35 minutes in a game at 5,500 against the Spurs, that's a massive pace-up spot for him. I'd be interested there. Kuminga continues to be freaking awesome. Like, I still don't understand why he doesn't play 35 minutes a night, but Jonathan Kuminga now 20, 28, 24 actual points in 3 straight games. Coming off career high 2 nights ago, had a double-double last game.
They should be playing this guy.
They
If
just
nothing else,
need-
to showcase him for a trade, right?
Right.
Like,
Right. If like Steve Kerr is just going to refuse to extend him, which just doesn't make sense. I mean, like, it is what it is, right? Just
how do you feel they feel about maybe losing out on Siakam here, right? Like,
yeah, that's a tough loss for them. That's a tough loss for them. But I mean, I'm interested in both Horford and Kuminga. I mean, Horford contingent on the Porzingis news. I do like that Beef Stew played 54 minutes or 38 minits. He's 5400 last week.
I was gonna say, is DraftKings?
No. That was just a mouth fumble. And that's like kind of. I mean, Sarge back to the bench, or no, he started in the Memphis game, but 23 minutes with Draymond back. That's tough to like assume he's going to continue to.
How are
get
you
that
handling
type
the
of
Lakers guys? Everybody was in obviously the other night. Hachimura gave you 20 minutes. Vanderbilt gave you some run. Anybody here?
Honestly, I think if we're playing anyone, John, I know he played the fewest minutes, but you know who's the best of all of them? Christian Wood was with 27 fantasy points in 14 minutes. Obviously, the 14 minutes hurt. If you wanted to play like any of the Lakers because minutes reliability, Vanderbilt and Hachimura would be the two that played more, but Christian Wood just has an infinite higher ceiling. Honestly, 9 games late, probably just avoiding all 3 of them. To be honest, because it's hard to like really trust their minutes.
Jonathan Isaac, 15 and 16 minutes last 2 games. Just throwing that out there to keep people on the radar. Let them know what Jonathan Isaac is up to these days. Agonku down here, 24 minutes, 4,600. Not a terrible price tag for him.
Not a terrible price. I mean, I'd be okay getting there.
Center position then, as we talked about, Giannis and AD are there. Bam, 9K. Jarrett Allen is $8,100. Şengün, 79. Zinger, 78. Where are we looking?
We have not seen Alperen Şengün priced like that in a while.
It's got the Hartenstein monster, you know?
He hasn't been under 8K since November 20th, where he went for 30, 13, and 5 and had 59 fantasy points. So, like, is he getting priced down because they were in blowouts and he lost out minutes? There's still no Tari Eason to take minutes away. Dude, he had the last 2 games against Boston, 24 minutes, 44 fantasy points. Against Philly, 30 minutes, 43 fantasy points. And that seems really, really silly to me to price Şengün at 79. Obviously, Jared Allen has been just an absolute dog. I don't love the 5 shot attempts the last 2 games.
I mean, against Milwaukee, he had 30, 12, and 6 against them.
He did, yeah. And I think there is something to be said about Milwaukee's defense, just like in general, they've been horrible. So,
yeah.
Allen and Şengün would be the 2 guys that just really, really stand out. And both price, which we've been saying all the whole show, but both price reductions for no reason.
Yeah. Do you have any interest in the Durant, Gobert, Hartenstein range here?
I mean, dude, Jalen Duren's been so freaking good. He just needs to stay out of foul trouble and stay on the floor. This does feel like a spot that they would keep him on the floor. Like, he got taken out of that Washington game because Washington themselves like kind of went small, and you just can't keep Jalen Duren on the floor in that instance. But like, dude, he's such a freaking monster. He's really good as a passer too. You get like a bunch of assists out of the post and um, using him as the hub. So I'm okay in tournaments if you think that game can stay competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Like if Edwards doesn't play, that game could definitely be competitive, right?
Yeah, I think
Like
so.
if Edwards doesn't play that game, and obviously we didn't talk about like what happens. We saw NAW start the last time Edwards sat. He played 40 minutes, so we could see that scenario again where NAW is starting. But I'm interested in Duren. I'm interested in Rudy Gobert on the flip side. Rudy Gobert is 7,100 despite going 21 and 12, 24 and 17, 15, 18 and 4 the last 3 games for 46, 50 and 46 fantasy points. You're telling me that Rudy Gobert is still 7,100 after going 46 plus for 3 straight slates? I don't know.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense to me. So.
No, I hear you. Capella 6K, you know, they're going to deal with Goga and Wendell Carter in that rotation. You have Naz Reid at 56, Horford potentially by himself at 55, Richards down to 55, Lively back at $5,200 for him there. Where are we looking?
Did you see how Dallas started that game? Last game? They started Lively and Maxi Kleba alongside one another, which I found
a little more size to that front court for them.
Yeah, that was really interesting. We'll see if they do it again. But Kleba back hurts Lively, I think, long term. Like Derek Lively is really good, but with like Kleba, Powell, and Lively all there, I do think Derek Lively kind of loses out a little steam. I don't really like much down here. You can't go to anything Toronto at this point.
Would you look at Goga? 29 minutes last game.
Yeah, I like Goga. They closed with Wendell Carter. Wendell Carter was really good in that game, but like clearly still limited after all these issues.
Yeah.
So yeah, 5K is a good price. Really big pace up spot for Orlando. Kelly O is fine.
Barlow, I mean, gonna get at least 17 to 20 plus minutes, and if it's a blowout, maybe more here.
Yeah, as long as they don't go to freaking Mamu in a blowout like they did, and they closed with Mamu the second game in Chicago.
Chicago here, yeah.
Like so annoying. Like yeah, Barlow is like, I mean, his price is going down, so that's not a bad thing.
If Porzingis gets ruled out, you know Cornette will be the backup here.
Yeah, yep. Porzingis is ruled out. Cornette is your backup center, but I don't think there's
14 minutes. The man gave you 11, 7, 1, and 3. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we've never doubted Christian Wood, the like stat stuffer, you know?
No. Agreed. I think we kind of agreed on maybe starting our lineups with Marketing Banchero.
Dude, you could start these lineups in like 50,000 different directions, and I'd be like, "Yep, that's the way." But like, dude, it's crazy. Like, it's crazy. Like, you can go.
You said you like Chuma for some value here.
Nah, Chuma, he's fine. I wasn't like I wouldn't be like prioritizing Chuma. I think.
What's your under 5K then play on this? Keontae 46.
Probably Keontae, yeah.
Keontae 46.
Yeah, Keontae, George. I mean, I like if we wanted to build with Peyton Pritchard, like obviously that's probably not the worst thought in the world. Given the lineup construction
and the point spread in that game and all the
like it's not a bad idea.
Yeah, I referenced 15 points. Thinking Minnesota, Detroit, but it was actually Boston that was giving 15 in that game. So likely getting some blowout run from him there. 6K play for the remaining positions here. Let's see, 6K range. We did like Sexton. That would kind of close out our triple up our.
Hey, 242.5 total.
You want to just go Draymond here then?
No.
Okay.
Not if he's limited.
Kuminga?
Yeah. If we can't get Curry, it's probably Kuminga, which I don't think.
We could try to get to Curry. I don't know.
I think the value's
be 46.50. We'd have to get a value forward just to get like Goga in at center. Or use like a Conquo or something like that. Whitmore 45. Chuma again 42. What's your feelings here?
Let's not go Curry.
Okay.
Probably not in this build.
Okay.
Maybe in a future build.
Sure. Şengün was 79. That'd be 4,900. Go just double over Dylan Brooks.
Yeah, he's gonna start
51.
Yeah.
And then still kind of brings us back to Goga or Beasley, but you said Jay Crowder's back.
Dude, the Goga play is not bad. If he's gonna even lose out a couple of minutes to Wendell Carter, and let's say it's like 27-21, there's always just that random looming Mo Wagner aspect too that they can go to. The triple center there is going to be a nightmare for the rest of this year. Dude, Goga was not playing. Isn't that just a wild part of this? Like, Goga was just not in the rotation. And now he's starting with all three of them active. It's just crazy.
All right, so just an example lineup for everybody. We got 3 Utah in there into that matchup against Golden State. Sexton, Pritchard, Markkanen, Banchero, Şengün, George, Brooks, and Goga here. $100 left over. I'll be on the playbook for everybody. If you have any questions, find us in the Discord. Get us on Twitter. Like and subscribe to the show if you haven't done so already. We'll be back live at 5 o'clock Eastern time. Get you all ready. 7 p.m. kickoff for the slate here this evening. We'll catch you then.